to the Energy Transition Conference 2026, ETCon26, brought to you by Tenaga Nasional Berhad, TNB. Now launched in 2023, the platform aims to responsibly advance the region's clean energy transition, convening stakeholders and industry players across the globe, showcasing pathways towards a shared low-carbon future. And today, in the Bernama mobile studio, we have a very special guest, which is Dean Cher. I hope I got your name right.
You got it correct.
All right, the Managing Director of SP Mobility Sustainable Energy Solutions from SP Group, which is headquartered in Singapore.
That's right.
Thank you for being with us today. For those who are asking, what is SP Group? It is the equivalent of TNB in Malaysia, an electrical utility company operating out in Singapore. So here you are going to talk about ASEAN electric mobility at scale, enabling the next phase of growth. So when we talk about the ASEAN technology in terms of mobility, you've highlighted that the electric mobility in ASEAN is moving past early adopters towards system-wide adoption. What unique challenges define this next phase of growth?
Well, I think for ASEAN, I think we must be clear what electric mobility means. Because in ASEAN, things are a bit different, right? You go to Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, all very different. And the key thing there is really, when you think about it, in Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, actually there are more four-wheelers than two-wheelers. We have more motorbikes.
Yep.
So basically, when we talk about electrification, then when you want to look at a solution, is it charging for two-wheeler vehicles or is it for four-wheelers? So I think in Singapore, what we have done quite well so far, I guess, is really in terms of adoption of EVs, passenger cars in Singapore, it's been quite high. Based on the latest April statistics, Singapore is 65.5% of new car sales, which means every 6.5 cars which are sold out of 10 cars are battery electric vehicles. So pure EVs, not hybrids even. So that's quite a good statistic. I mean, globally, when people talk about EV adoption, usually they look at Norway, like 95%. That's quite high. Or Nepal, another country with the N, it's like 70 plus. Singapore is well on its way there. So I think in terms of ASEAN electrification, like what we said in the afternoon panel, all moving at different paces, and I think that the underlying theme for everything is really more the need for greater collaboration between stakeholders.
All right, so you talk about collaboration just now, right? People think when scaling up, it means putting more EVs on the road.
Yes.
When it's the entire ecosystem, from the infrastructure, from the people's mentality, the government support in terms of policies, and also the EV company itself. So how do you think that this ecosystem can be coordinated to ensure a smooth flow of transition towards EVs or in green technology in general?
Well, tough question in a sense. So maybe there are two parts of your question, I feel. So the first part, which is about, putting more EVs on the road first and then, charging maybe coming later. Yeah. So in this line of view, there's always this proverbial question, like which came first? Usually we say the chicken or egg, or is it the charger or the cars? So this question I also addressed this afternoon, which is, I feel, at least from a Singapore's perspective, the infrastructure, I feel, from experience, needs to come first.
Experience?
Yeah, from what we've seen in Singapore, what I've seen in the market in Singapore, I think quite clearly infrastructure needs to come first, and then then the EVs will come. So because the other way is to say, EVs come first, then infrastructure can follow. Ideally, as an infrastructure provider, that would be the best, because then from an investment point of view, we are getting the max returns because cars are already on the road.
The market is already there.
Yes, yeah. But I think psychologically, this is a new product, right? So I didn't get to share this afternoon, but when you look at it, it's fascinating to know that 118 years ago, if you were lived then, your mode of transportation around is actually the horse and the buggy.
Yeah. Yep.
Horse and buggy, right? So it's not cars. The Model T came out 1st October 1908. So we are 100 plus years, so 118 years if you think about it. So it is a new technology, EVs, and I think it will supersede petrol cars in a sense, but we don't really see people adopting, different strokes, right? I think Singapore, as I mentioned, given the good infrastructure which is there already, which is planted out, got government incentives, government policies, and we've got good mass market models out there. So adoption is picking up, as you can see in the numbers, but not the same trend everywhere. I think certainly in Malaysia, it's still perhaps lagging behind at this stage. So I think, but it's a mindset shift. I think people need to shift their perception to like say, okay, EVs are here, is a good product, and EVs are different from ICE cars. Doesn't work the same way. So, things need to change. So in Singapore, I often say we don't have range anxiety, which is probably the case because if you look at the number of charging infrastructure we have, 31,000 charging points out of which entire Singapore, out of which 19,000 are in private areas, 12,000 are in public areas, and that's serving a total population of 68,000 vehicles based on the same time period. So even if I take 68,000 divided by 12,000, I'm looking at a ratio of 5.55, which means one charging point is serving 5 vehicles. Not a problem, really not a problem. But in other countries, for example, I think Malaysia was said this afternoon is either between 10 or 17. I'm not sure what the exact number is, but you've got a lagging kind of indicator, and then that's where you mentioned earlier, charging infrastructure needs to come at scale, needs to be built first. Yes, I think that makes sense. But back to your original question, which is how can we all work better? I think at the heart of it, everyone comes with different things in mind, right? So if you're a consumer, what are you looking for? You're looking for convenience. You're looking for confidence.
Best value for money.
And best value for money. Also, you want to have the confidence to say, I buy an EV today, I can get charging, right? That's what you want. As a CPO, what do I need? I need utilization. I need returns because I'm putting money in. I need a return, right? If you look at the OEMs, what do they need? They need a reliable estimate of how many cars they're going to sell, because that impacts how much they manufacture, and then all things add up. You look at utilities, what do they need? They need predictable demand, right? Not someday where you wake up and say, oh, in that hotspot here, I need tons of EV charger. And as a grid, you're going to take time to react to that, And the last entity here, maybe government, you need policy which is stable. So every one of these 5 stakeholders, they are currently
all different priorities.
All different priorities, all thinking along their own individual interests, which is not wrong. But collaboration means really, okay, out of the 5, all 5 of us are going to talk together in whatever form of dialogue sessions we have, and then going to find common solutions. On paper sounds very easy, but in practice,
it's very challenging.
It's very challenging. And because there are always vested interests around. And I think the problem, well, not problem, but you can have different models, right? You can have the model where really, if the government is funding everything, then really they call the shots, right? Because they can dictate. But where private enterprises come in, where we are investing on our own, then it's perhaps different objectives as well. So I think these are not new problems. I mean, every time you do an infrastructure project, you're going to have these kind of considerations. It's just for EVs, the space that we are in today, this is really a mass market product. But we're not mass market yet. And people expect mass market solutions, but we're not there yet. So that's where the friction is, and that's where the teething issues are. But I think it's only a matter of time before these things get sorted out. As long as, basically after our end of our interview, you feel convinced personally that, okay, I'm going to get an EV as my next car. Yep. Then I think that's really okay. If you're watching as well, you feel, okay, I think maybe I'll try an EV. Then I think from my point of view, that helps. Whether you're buying in Malaysia or Singapore, that works totally fine too.
And that contributes to transition as well.
Correct. Yes.
So you said something about business model, right?
Yes.
So blanketing the entire, let's say for Malaysia, with charging stations based on subsidies given by the government is not exactly an effective business model in the long run, right?
Correct.
So they have to make some financial sense on their own legs to attract long-term commercial investment. So what are the most viable commercial models for charging infrastructures in ASEAN right now, based on your experience?
Okay, so here I can only, I guess, speak on from what I see in Singapore. Yeah, so I think you mentioned earlier about government subsidies and all that. So I feel it really is a case where earlier I talked about chicken and egg, which came first, charges on the car. So it is a case where if the formula is really to get the charging infrastructure up first, then either policymakers can think of things to benefit this group, infrastructure providers, but then they have a moral hazard, right? Which is, I'm spending money to help a private enterprise. You should be doing something on your own. Yeah, maybe. Then if not, then you should focus around, then let me help the vehicles then. I cannot help you on the infrastructure side, but I can help people buy cheaper cars. Then that would help you eventually.
Yes.
So policy that can also happen. We can have governments helping that on the vehicle side, which is what we've seen in Singapore actually. There's more help on the vehicle side than there is on the infrastructure side. Which I mean, as long as we get some of these right, that will kickstart the process. Because without these things, policy especially, it's virtually impossible to get it off the ground.
And it's interesting, but then again, there are countries who are already in advance in EVs compared to others. For example, Malaysia against Singapore,
Yes.
against Vietnam. So how do you ensure the interoperability between these nations could be synchronized better?
Well, I think interoperability is a nice word, but practically speaking,
It's not as easy as it
well,
sounds.
no, it's what do we really mean by that?
Okay.
Okay, because today it's like if you have a petrol car, if you drive really from Singapore all the way to Vietnam or Vietnam all the way down, you go to petrol station, you know the petrol head nozzle is going to fit into your car. You can
Yes.
pump petrol, right?
Yes.
So today, if you drive up and down using either a Vietnamese car or Singapore car or Malaysian car, you can do the same. And so I think at the very basic, that's interoperability, i.e. the charging infrastructure, whether these three countries can help to charge the car. So I think in terms of that, that's done. At least we have a common standard, which is not necessarily the case. I think you go to North America, they call it North America standard. If you go to China, it's also this thing called the Guopiao. So there are different standards around. So I think in ASEAN, that's done. Perhaps what's missing in a sense is maybe the kind of confidence or the kind of customer experience. But then I think that's really based on local factors, and you can't do much around that. A very common topic or favorite topic around people is like payment, right? So if I drive out to Malaysia, can I just tap my credit card at the POS station, or go to Vietnam, or Vietnam do the same? So I think those no quite clear market standards yet. But I think all these things, like I say, this is a mass market solution in a market which is not mass market yet. I think over time, industry will develop and there will be common standards around.
What about infrastructure in terms of its readiness between nations? For example, Singapore are probably better in its infrastructure of green energy for EV, but Malaysia probably a little bit behind or probably on par. What about other countries? What about all that?
I think, so when we look at infrastructure, we look at charging infrastructure. Unfortunately, people are still talking about the number of points as a metric. So I think basically, so it means in Singapore, like I said, no range anxiety. You can drive around without worrying too much. I think Malaysia probably similar-ish or maybe a bit less.
From my experience, it's the Klang Valley area.
Not a problem.
Not a problem. But
once you go up.
Yeah, once you go to the suburban or probably rural areas of Kelantan, Terengganu, the East Coast,
yes,
that will always come to mind when it comes to charging.
Correct. So I think that's where you have this. So if you just take the example, then yes, it is a numbers game, but not numbers for the sake of numbers, right? Really numbers because you're solving these pain points. The fortunate thing about Singapore is we're an island state, so it's quite easy to really blanket the whole island. If you don't drive to Malaysia, technically you're stuck on the island. You're safe, right? You can find a charging point. But yeah, if you're driving from Klang to Terengganu, okay, where are you going to find that charger? And that's where I guess the point is infrastructure, I guess, will come, especially when there's a business case. But beyond that, like we saw in this afternoon's panel, you have industry associations, you got user associations, all talking. And I understand in Malaysia as well, there's a special working committee as well, chaired by the DPM. So I think you guys are moving in the right track.
So all this talk about infrastructure readiness and also EVs, EV companies blanketing the automotive sector with new EV markets with all these features, it will mean nothing if consumer confidence is not there.
Right.
So basically, how do we address this regarding charging availability, reliability, and ease of use to trigger mass market adoption, confidence in consumers?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, the 5 pillars. So the consumers, they want 2 things. They want convenience and they want to have confidence. So I feel which is why to the earlier question, which came first, chargers or the car, I feel infrastructure is a come first. It has to come first because consumers need to feel confident that the infrastructure is around. You deal with that point first. Is the infrastructure there? Then the next point is operationally, are the chargers available? Can I use it when I need to use it? And then that's where, over time, you can solve that issue. So over at SP, I mean, the good thing about us is, so we're part of the grid. We have a long history of operational excellence, and we're transferring that to the way we operate the charging points as well. So I think if I base it on own experience, by keeping a high uptime responding quickly to customer issues. I think that engenders confidence, and over time, that solves that issue. So I think if I transport it to other countries, it's the same basic formula.
It's a different scale.
It's a different scale. It's a different scale. I mean, in Singapore, for example, if in the east of Singapore something has an issue, then you go back down to the west. I mean, it's what, half an hour drive. But if you're in Klang Valley, the charger in Terengganu is down. It's, I don't know, it's a 3-hour drive.
3-4 hours, probably even more.
Exactly. So
seasons.
Yeah. So it's different scale, right? So then we're talking about operational efficiencies. Do you need a team in Terengganu, for example, to look at this?
All right. So that was a very beautiful insight that you shared with us, because EV is something that is the in thing right now, not just in Malaysia, but the entire world.
Yep.
People are pushing EVs and green technology, and we can't really escape from this. It is the inevitable. So whatever happens in Malaysia, let's just hope that the EV transition is going to be smooth and according to what the government is planning. So thank you. That was Din Cher, the Managing Director, ASPI Mobility Sustainable Energy Solutions ASPI Group, sharing about his insights on the EV adoption in terms of mobility and transition towards a greener technology. Right, for those who are interested to come and see for yourselves, please do so to the Energy Transition Conference 2026, ETCon26, held in Kuala Lumpur Convention Centre from the 3rd of June to the 5th of June 2026. You can meet stakeholders, you can meet with industry players and industry experts who can answer all your questions regarding the transition towards green energy. I am Muzammil Abdullah, and this is ETCon26, brought to you by Tenaga Nasional Berhad.